In our news bulletin for this evening, a petition of inquiry has been filed with the Niue High Court into the conduct of elections for the Toi Village constituency. Ministerial portfolios have been announced this week. ANZAC commemorations serve as a solemn reminder of the sacrifice made by those who went to war. 2 Niueans are confirmed to depart on a pilgrimage to take the Lord's Prayer in Niue to be installed in the Holy Land. A petition of inquiry has been filed with the Niue High Court into the conduct of the election of the member of the Niue Assembly for Toi following the Niue general elections 2 weeks ago. The petition filed by Mokailani Vaha is supported by 5 registered voters from the Toi Village constituency. Mokailani Vaha contested the village seat for Toi that was eventually secured by Dion Pakito Fitu. At the end of the elections, it was revealed that there was a tie with 10 votes each way. In light of the outcome, the matter was taken on board by the Chief Electoral Officer to determine the successful candidate, and that was determined by lot on Tuesday, the 14th of April. The hearing for the inquiry will be presided by the Chief Justice Patrick Savage on Tuesday morning next week. Judge Savage will sit in chambers from New Zealand, and parties on the island will conduct their case at the Department of Justice via telephone conference. Ministerial portfolios have been finalised this week as government is able to get all in order following the sequence of events after elections. It remains that Premier Tokitalangi will be responsible for a majority of the portfolios, specifically all central agencies and commercial agencies, including all boards. That includes the Premier's Department, Finance and Planning, Crown Law, the Niue Public Service Commission and Secretariat, Niue Police, commercial agencies including bulk fuel, the Civil and Quarry, Housing, Bond Store, Tourism, the Niue Development Bank, Philatelic and Numismatic. The Honourable Minister Pokoton Sipili is responsible for the Ministry of Social Services. That includes Justice, Taonga Niue, Health and Education. Honourable Joan Vidiamu is the member assisting the Minister. Honourable Billy Talangi is the Minister for Natural Resources. That includes the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, the Meteorological Services and Environment. Honourable Kupa Matungia is the member assisting to the Minister. Honourable Dalton Tangelangi is the Minister for the Ministry of Infrastructure, that is subject to the Public Service Transformation Restructuring, where there will be 3 proposed departments. Firstly, the Department of Transport, secondly, the Department of Communications, and thirdly, the Department of Utilities. These will be made up of the Departments of Public Works, Niue Power, Civil Aviation, and the technical components of the Broadcasting Corporation of Niue. Mr. Taloisi Tam Taloisi is the member assisting the Minister. The lineup of Cabinet has seen a rotation of members from the previous Cabinet relegated to an assisting role, while those who were previously assisting have been promoted to take on more responsibilities as ministers. Premier Talangi says that these changes have contributed to better define the roles of members assisting ministers. Crowds gathered to the Cenotaph War Memorial Sites in Alofi last Friday to commemorate ANZAC Day. Niue government dignitaries, families of returned soldiers, officials, pastors were part of the commemorations that began in the early dawn with a march past to the site. Each year the commemorations serve as a significant part of Niue's part in the First World War, where 150 strong men chose to represent Niue and answered New Zealand's call for support. Speeches from the President of the Niue Returned Servicemen's Association, Mr. Charlie Tauvaka, the Premier of Niue, Honourable Tokitalangi, and the New Zealand High Commissioner, His Excellency Mr. Ross Ardern, all reflected on the great sacrifice made by those who went to war.
Small as we may be, we were prepared to make our contribution to their time of need at their request. These are the bonds that we remember as well, because these are the bonds that have been forged over the period of time from that moment to now. And I have taken great pains sometimes to remind New Zealand And the British High Commissioner, when he was here some time ago, of our contribution, our voluntary contribution, to the request at that time. So don't begrudge us. If we at the same time now make some requests for them to help us as well. That's my message to those great nations, both Britain and New Zealand. It was that bond and the symbolism that was demonstrated by that I believe we will continue to forge our partnerships with both countries, but in particular New Zealand, for that contribution.
But what of the 150 Niuean troops that assembled right here in Alofi? Why were they ready to answer the call to war, the call to arms, so quickly? Why did those 150 Niuean men go to New Zealand and then to Egypt and then on to the Western Front? I believe that it was a sense of duty and a desire to give service, that desire so ingrained in the culture of Niue and Niueans. But there's probably little doubt that, like other troops from the dominions across the world, that there was a sense of adventure, a desire to find out what the world was about, and probably little thinking at all about the hardships those 150 men were to go to. But go to war they did, and many of them made that ultimate sacrifice. On this sombre occasion, I would ask you to remember, just for a moment, the tremendous courage demonstrated by each and one of those 150 men and the others who volunteered from Niue for that cause. The majority of those men would never have left the small island previously, and many must have known that they would never return to this beautiful place.
Some of the highlights included the raising of flags by a selected few from the Boys and Girls Brigade of Niue, the 3-gun salute by the Niue Police,
Left turn! Guard! 3 rounds loading position! Free set, arm! Fire! Reload! Fire! Reload! Fire! Check your weapon!
and the laying of wreaths, the first one by the Premier of Niue, Honourable Toketa Langi. It was a very proud and sad moment for those who were at the commemoration service to celebrate the warriors who went to the First World War, but sad for those who did not return home. Lest we forget, we will remember them. Two Niueans will make their way on a pilgrimage to install the Lord's Prayer in Wangahau plaque in the Holy Land. The exciting opportunity was publicized last year by Reverend Inga Mokole for those interested in joining to make arrangements for a group tour to Israel. In the beginning, there was much interest shown, but there were constraints in terms of financial resources available. The trip of a lifetime would take them to significant sites for Christians, an opportunity to walk in the footsteps of Christ, visiting Bethlehem, the River of Jordan, and several other locations referenced in the Bible.
For me, the incentive for me to want to go there is I want to experience seeing all these places where our Lord walking on, like, for instance, Bethlehem, the Jordan River, all these, for me, to read a Bible. Because when you read a Bible, you don't know, you just think, okay. But you imagine physically being there and experience it. Yeah, and to me, that's a trip of a lifetime.
Despite requests and attempts to get financial support, in the end it came down to the individual's ability and willingness to pay their own way. Preparation for the trip has had its challenges, but for Eti, it was a worthwhile cause.
It has been, quite tough, but you sacrifice, you persevere. I'm not one of those persons who go out every other week dining and things. So you do save your money, and to me, it's a worthwhile trip to be able to sacrifice and to be able to come up with the funding to pay for the trip. I actually still, because if you think about it, if you go by yourself, it's no way you can afford. It's no way I can afford to go on my own. This was affordable due to a group tour. It is getting very expensive because a lot of people have actually, I think pretty much all the Niueans have pulled out over here on Niue and in Auckland. So Pastor Inga and I are the only Niueans going with the Palangis down in Auckland.
Reverend Inga Mokole and Mrs. Eti Sala Asimanga will be departing the island this coming Friday. We would like to wish them well on their journey as they take a piece of Niue with them to the Holy Land.